Black college sports and then some. We got it right here on HSRN The Network, the voice of HBCU sports.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
What's going on, everybody? It's Ryan Marshall, your host of GTBF Green Talk for Brown Folks. So excited to be back here for another show. And we are kind of switching gears a little bit because we've talked about a lot of different things in the last couple of weeks. The Great Resignation and people resigning and leaving their jobs and doing a lot of different things, just wanting to regain their sense of self-worth. They want to regain that control that they have in their lives. And that's so very important to continue that conversation. And so we're going to continue that as part of our entrepreneurship series here in the next couple of weeks. But today and then next week, we're going to focus on the great American dream. And that great American dream we're talking about is home ownership. That is something that we all want to be able to have, is we want to be able to have our own set of keys to that very special place that we are able to call ours. And it's one thing to rent a home or rent an apartment or rent something, but it's a completely different thing to be a homeowner. And so this is going to be the great American Dream Part 1 of the two-part series. And we're going to hear from some different voices, some different perspectives from people about what homeownership really means to them. And we're also going to talk to you about a very special thing that HSRN is putting on, which we're going to get into in a little bit here. But I really want to start talking about home ownership, and I know it's so very important. So this week's show is just basically going to have more conversation than anything. And you're going to hear from various different people all across the country about their perspectives about what home ownership really means to them. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts with some home ownership experts, and we're going to have a chance to talk with those people ahead of our very special home ownership initiative course, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that HSRN is really doing. But we're just going to talk about the feeling of being a homeowner and what that means, and how having financial literacy and being able to put that together with being a homeowner and having those financial foundations, the fundamentals, leads to being a homeowner. So I decided to change the format a little bit. So instead of us just being able to tell you what you should do with your money or what sort of advice we're giving you, we felt that it would be best for you to hear it from some of the people that would be just like you when it comes to home ownership. Some of the positives, the negatives, the pitfalls, the challenges that they may have had to becoming homeowners. And we've talked about the statistics of African Americans and African American home ownership up against other groups, and African American home ownership hovers just below 50%. So 50%, I would say I think it's about 45% of African Americans are actually homeowners. That number is much higher with white families. 69% of white households are actually homeowners. So that has been, we've talked about that for a number of weeks. But one of the things that I did was, that I do with HSRN as well as having this show, is I serve as the HSRN social media coordinator, and I have a group of 5 wonderful interns from various HBCU schools. 2 interns from Morris Brown College in Atlanta, 1 from Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, 1 from Morgan State in Baltimore, 1 from Delaware State in Dover, Delaware. And they went out and had a chance to talk to some people that they are close to about being either first-time home buyers, their experiences with owning a home, maybe not owning a home. And so I want to start with Mr. Julian Ross, a very sharp young man who had a chance to interview somebody. He's an intern from Morris Brown College, and he talked to somebody about some of the things that they did with home ownership. Here's what they had to talk about.
I am HSRN social and digital media intern Julian Ross, and today I'm interviewing Dr. Michael Martin about home ownership. I just have a few questions for you. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, and thank you for taking the opportunity to talk to me about a homeowner. Yes, I'm a new homeowner, so I'm excited about what the questions that you are going to ask me.
Gotcha. And I'm excited to know the answers. So my first question is simply this. What does home ownership mean to you?
Well, it means that I'm investing back into myself. As a renter, I'm giving money to somebody else. I'm depending on somebody else, leasing agreements. But when you have your own home, you're actually investing in yourself. And according to legend, I'm living the American dream.
I like that. And then my second question is, what are some obstacles or a major obstacle that you faced during the home buying process that other people need to look out for?
Well, first of all, you need to make sure that your credit score is good. Work on your credit score, get that all built up before you start out, because that's going to affect your credit rating. In other words, that's going to affect your interest rate on your mortgage. So that's a key thing. Work on your credit, getting your credit good. Also, if you want to get some money saved up, get your bills paid down on those things. Something unusual happened to me while I was getting my home. I was constantly saving money. So when they first went through my loan system, I had this amount of money in the bank. But by the time my closing came, they went through the whole process all over again, making me get paperwork proving to me where the money came from. And I thought that was unusual, but they said it was a part of the process. You can't let that frustrate you. Know that you are in, know it's going to go through, have an explanation of everything you do, because in the end, you'll be a proud homeowner. You have your own home, and you'll be living, as they say, the American dream.
The American dream, yes, sir. Well, thank you for taking this time out today, Dr. Martin. Enjoy your home, and I hope that your advice will resonate in others' ears when we go to buy our homes.
No problem. Thank you.
Julian Ross, I'm out.
Coming up in the second segment, we're going to talk about what buying a home really means, what being a first-time home buyer means, and what that meant to their family, and just the great joy that it gave them. And it's just so very important to be a homeowner. So this is Green Talk for Brown Folks. We're going to head into a break here. When we come back, we're going to have those stories. This is Ryan Marshall, Green Talk for Brown Folks. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. Okay, we're going to get back into segment number 2. We're talking about the great American dream, and I really want to be able to share some of the stories from various people all across the country on their experiences of home ownership, their first time buying a home. But first, I want to get into sharing my story about homeownership and growing up not having a home. My parents, they met at Howard University. My mother was from the Midwest, so St. Louis and Indianapolis. My dad was from Trinidad and Tobago. They met at Howard University, got married, and then after a few years of marriage, they got divorced. Separated and then divorced. And so I don't remember very much of growing up in a home. We grew up in, apartments is what my memory was mostly about, or townhomes that we rented. My brother and I lived with my mom in Indianapolis after my mom and dad separated. And we kind of thought that was the norm. Living in an apartment, that just was everything that we had always experienced. And so I had always myself wanted to be in a house. That was one of the things that and if I'm honest with myself, there were some of my friends that I either went to school with or went to church with that had homes. They lived in homes, they grew up in homes, and I felt kind of jealous of that. We didn't have a home to live in or grow up in, and that was something that really shaped me today in wanting to be a homeowner, because I realized that the lack of stability of being able to be in one place that we could call ours, that we could grow into, we never had that. It just always seemed like we did have stability in that we did stay in some of the apartments and in places that we lived in for a number of years, but we just, we moved from time to time. And so that was one of the things that I always wanted to do. Now, I understand that the rate of home ownership for African Americans is just under 50%. I believe it's around 45%, of the African American population tends to be homeowners. We were not part of that population that was homeowners. So having a home wasn't just important for the fact of being able to grow and accumulate wealth and the money that you were paying into your mortgage. That money was, when home prices appreciate and grow, you could take advantage of having that wealth. You could sell your home, be able to participate in all of that. We never got the chance to be able to do that. And so a lot of families, my story is not uncommon. And we're going to hear from some other people about their perspectives, what homeownership means to them. For those that may have been first-time home buyers, or for those that may have lived in homes. Next, you'll get the opportunity to hear from another one of our social media interns, Tariq Turner. He's an intern from Morgan State University. He's a sports editor with the Morgan State Spokesman newspaper that I was part of as well, and also sports editor. So we definitely have a connection in that regard. He had a chance to talk about what home ownership meant to him, and then he was able to talk to Kendra Halton, who is a Howard University alum, class of 2004 from Philadelphia, who is a recent home buyer, and she shares her emotional story about her experience buying a home for the first time. Here's Tariq and here's Kendra.
Hello, this is Tariq Turner, and I am a social media intern for HSRN. I would say that home ownership is very important to me. I'm 21 years old. I've only lived in 2 houses my whole entire life. So my parents, they always provided, a safe blanket and security at home. And I don't plan to have kids for like another 10 years. But when I do have kids, I want to be able to provide them with the same, shelter that my parents provided with me. And I don't want my kids to have to worry about where we're going to live at and going from house to house. So I would say that just home ownership is very important to me. And I believe that everyone should have an opportunity to afford home ownership as well.
Hello, my name is Kendra. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am a proud graduate of Howard University, and I just bought my first home on August 25th, 2021. Shout out to the first-time home buyers. I know it's a lot, but we made it to the finish line. My experience was trying. I done cursed out a lot of people. I done cried, but it was all worth it at the end. I started looking for my home on April 18th, and I remember that because I went away for my birthday and I came back. I said, my next move is to buy me a house. Fast forward, I signed those papers on August 25th. I felt like it was a long time, but it wasn't. I saw the very first home that I saw, I wanted it. I was like, this is mine, and that's it. I don't care. Long story short, I got outbid. The second house I saw, I was like, this is my house. Oh my goodness. Talk about a smart house. I mean, you walk in, it said, Alexa, cut the lights on. You step in the bathroom and hey, heated floors. It was just I was like, oh, this is my house. That didn't work out either. That story was very interesting, and I could write a book about it. But the seller signed off, and he sold me the house, and then he backtracked on the house. So once I have told all my family members and friends that I got this house, I didn't get the house. Talk about depression. Yeah. Talk about crying. Talk about how I was ready just to give up, but I didn't. Fast forward to where I am now was the third house that I've been on. And I walked in and I said, no, this is my house. And this is my house. And the funny thing about it is I got outbid on this house too. But the person who they chose, once they went to the settlement date, apparently they didn't have all their money right. And they didn't get the house. So they called me. And what was that? God's plan. He knew that this was for Kendra. And I'm going to give it to Kendra. And I'm just so thankful. I wake up every morning and go to sleep every night thanking God for all the blessings that He has done in my life. I just hope and suggest that every black person that gets their hand on a couple dollars to invest in themselves.
Coming up in our final segment, we're going to wrap up everything that we've been talking about with respect to hearing from some people all across the country about their experiences with being homeowners or homeownership in general. And we're going to talk about the special HSRN class that we are hosting as a network on Friday, November the 12th at 8 p.m. You do not want to miss it, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So that's going to be in our third segment. I'm Ryan Marshall, your host for GTBF. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. This is segment number 3 of our show, The Great American Dream, Part 1. We're going to get back into hearing from the perspective of people just like you all across the country about home ownership and what it really means to them, how it made them feel, how it made their families feel being first-time home buyers. I think I said in the beginning of this show that it's one thing to have us as the quote-unquote experts tell you about financial information and all of this stuff that you should be doing, or we think that you should be doing, giving you advice. But it's another thing to be able to hear it from some of your peers, from some of your colleagues, and people that could be your friends or things like that. And so that's what we're doing today. And so another one of our social media interns, Bria Dorsey, who's an intern from Delaware State University, had an opportunity to speak with somebody about what home ownership means to them.
Hi, my name is Thelma Acevedo. I am an associate director here at Delaware State University, and I am a homeowner.
What does it mean to live in a home for your family, and what memories are you fonder of?
It's a sense of security. It's a great investment for your family, for yourself and your family, actually. And the funnest memory was having everybody take their shoes off at the door when my baby was young and crawling. Those were my funnest memories.
What are some obstacles of being a homeowner?
Actually, I'm a homeowner twice. I have a home in Florida and I have one here in Delaware. Some of the obstacles are you're responsible for all the maintenance and upkeep of the home, so that can get to be costly if you don't have those homeowner insurance things taken care of, which I do. But that's one of the difference between owning a home and living in an apartment. You just call maintenance and they do whatever, opposed to owning a home, you are maintenance and you have to do whatever. So whether that means bringing in someone to repair something, or you may be one of those people who can fix things yourself.
What are some rewards of being a homeowner?
It's a great investment. It's something that you can hand down to, your family members. Pretty much that's it. I bought it as an investment and to be able to secure stability for myself and my family.
So the last question is, 72% of white families are homeowners, but only 48% of black families homeowners. What can we do as a community to change that?
Bring awareness. There's a lot of opportunities out there for first-time home buyers in the state of Delaware that I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know about. There's several employees that are here that I've spoken to in regards to home ownership, because the cost that you're paying for an apartment could actually be, your mortgage could be less. So I think it's just bringing awareness. Financial literacy for them would be something that I would say would benefit them in becoming homeowners.
So those are just some of the stories that we were able to hear, and I really want to say thank you very much to our incredibly talented interns. You'll be seeing them, you'll be hearing them a lot more in regards to this particular project especially. And speaking of which, I want you guys to be able to be a part of HSRN's Introduction to Transforming Lives Through Homeownership. It's a partnership with Main Street Mortgage, and it's a free course. It's literally going to prepare you to successfully strengthen you and then the entire community, and then to transform your life through home ownership. And it's a first time home buyers class, or if you're just trying to get some more knowledge about home buying, about financial literacy, it's going to have all of that as well. Next week, that's going to be next week, Friday, November the 12th, 2021 at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's the Introduction to Transforming Lives Through Home Ownership. That's going to be Friday, November the 12th, 2021 at 8 p.m. It's going to be a virtual webinar and a virtual session. I'll be in teaching some of the financial literacy portions of that. And Main Street Mortgage President John Millett is going to be teaching that, along with former risk manager for Vanguard Investments, Mike Curry. They have some incredible stories and incredible knowledge that they're going to drop. We're going to all drop for all of you guys. So we really want you to be a part of that. As a matter of fact, we're going to have John Millett, the president of Main Street Mortgage, talk to us next week on a one-on-one, and we're going to get a little bit more in depth about some home buying tips that you can use. Home buying 101. It's a one-on-one session with John Millett. You're not going to want to miss it. Literally, it is going to be incredible. Go sign up at hsrn.com. Find the Introduction for Transforming Lives Through Home Ownership, and you'll definitely want to be a part of that. Just want to say thank you so much. We're going to have a continued conversation about this next week, and it's the great American dream, and that is home ownership. We want to get the home ownership up in black and brown communities. Well, that's it for another edition of GTBF Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm Ryan Marshall. Until next week, we'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN. Follow Ryan's social media on Twitter at Ryan H. Marshall and on Instagram, RHM WealthWave. You can also connect with him via email at ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. That's ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. Join him next Friday at 1 p.m. for another edition of Green Talk for Brown Folks.